Daniel Jacobs says he wants that smoke with Canelo, Cinco de Mayo 2019, and he's going to be ringside at Canelo's next fight. Stay tuned. Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. 1. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Big shout out to the channel members as well. And Daniel Jacobs, he said he's going to be ringside at Canelo versus Rocky Fielding. Daniel Jacobs being a New Yorker, the fight taking place in New York, Madison Square Garden. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's, we'll see how Canelo's new event looks on a new network. Jacobs was signed to a multi-fight deal with HBO. Now they're out of the boxing business, so maybe he goes to DAZN. We got to wait and see, but he wants the Canelo fight. This is what Jacobs had to say. I'll be there front and center on Saturday night. It's no secret that my focus is on Canelo. There is no other fight in boxing I want right now more than him. I did what I had to do, and I beat Derevyanchenko, a guy nobody wanted to fight, and I claimed a piece of the middleweight crown. Now it's time to unify. I believe I'm the best middleweight in the world, and he thinks he is, so let's put it all on the line. He also says, as long as Canelo takes care of business on Saturday night, I'm ready to go. Let's get this done for May 4th. So he's putting his bid in. Now, first of all, I respect Daniel Jacobs. I know Daniel Jacobs, but that has nothing to do with it. I respect him as a man, first and foremost. Look what he's been through. You know, a lot of people talk about Tyson Fury and what he's overcome, and I celebrate that. See, I'm not one of those people who have to bring down another person in order to make a point. You know, Tyson Fury has a great story, Cinderella man, mental health issues, gained a lot of weight, the drug abuse, substance abuse, partying, and then, you know, arguably beat Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. You know, either way, he put up a great fight with Wilder. But a lot of people sleep on Daniel Jacobs. This is a guy who took a nasty loss with Dimitri Perot, got knocked out, later found out he had cancer that was wrapped around his spine. Doctor said he was going to be paralyzed. He definitely wouldn't be able to box. And he beat cancer. He overcame everything. Now he does a lot for charity. And he got a belt, worked his way back up, beat Peter Quillen, and then now he's a champion again. He beat Sergey Derevyanchenko, who's a difficult style, you know, and Golovkin pretty much ducked out of fighting because he didn't want to take that risk. So the same way people celebrate Tyson Fury, I think spread the love, because Daniel Jacobs has also overcame a lot. Very good dude, likable dude, and he's battled all odds in his career. And the thing is, you know, no disrespect to Tyson Fury, obviously he couldn't control like necessarily depression or mental health issues, but as far as drinking, partying, staying out late, doing cocaine, gaining weight, those are things he could have controlled. Jacobs, you know, forming cancer, that's not really something you can prohibit or stop from happening. So, you know, I think Jacobs has a great story. He's, as a fighter, a good fighter as well. And I would love to see Canelo versus Jacobs. You know, I think nobody really has earned it more than Jacobs. Even Triple G. Like Triple G, he was a champion, but he just lost to Canelo, and he's no longer a champion. Trilogy, I think, with Canelo and Triple G, that can happen at any moment. And even if you look at it, I know some people will try to say, play the numbers game and say it's a huge fight, but the second Canelo-Golovkin fight didn't even do as good as the first fight. You know, the fight itself delivered. It was a good fight, but, you know, I'm okay seeing them both go separate ways, fight other competition in between, and then get the trilogy. You know, you don't have to fight back to back. You know, you just fought in September and then the next September, stuff like that. And Jacobs, he's waited his turn. He's already bounced back from the Golovkin loss. He took his L to Golovkin, even though I thought he won that fight and I was there. And he's bounced back. He fought 4 undefeated fighters in a row, and on paper, he beat 3 of them. And he knocked down 2 of them. Mad Selesky and also Sergey Derevyanchenko, I think, in the first or second round. I don't think he knocked down Luis Cuba Arias. I'd have to watch it again. But I know he hurt him, and he dominated that fight. And I thought he beat Golovkin. So really, in my mind, he's 4-0 in his last fights, and they were all undefeated guys. So what better way than to fight Canelo, who's only once beaten? You can argue Canelo should have more losses, things like that, but on paper, Canelo only has one loss. So if he gets past Rocky Fielding, he's already mentioned that he's going back down to 160. At one point, he kind of made it, kept it open and made it sound like he was going to stay at 168. I don't really want to see Canelo at 168. He's kind of short, and he just really got to 160. And I think the bigger money fights are for him at 160, so I'd rather see that. So the Rocky Fielding, he mentioned why kill myself, drain myself to make weight for more so a stay busy fight. This is a chance for Mexican history to become a 3-division weight champion at that weight, pick off a guy like Rocky Fielding who has a version of the title, fight in New York, a historic Madison Square Garden, and then he said he's going to drop down. Jacobs definitely deserves it. Like I said, he's just fought 4 undefeated fighters in a row. He also fought an undefeated Peter Quillen. When Peter Quillen was knocking out guys, he knocked him out in the first round. And he's being sincere when he says, I fought Derevyanchenko, a guy others didn't want to fight, who was just really trying to fight Derevyanchenko. He's really a high risk, low reward. Russian, amateur, pedigree, and, a guy who's not going to make you the most money in the world, but you've seen he was game. And I give credit to Jacobs because this is his former sparring partner / gym mate. They were both trained by Andre Rozier at the same time, so they spent a lot of time together and stuff. They're probably friends or at best acquaintances, and at the end of the day, he's able to put his personal feelings and relationships aside. You spend a lot of time in the gym with someone, you probably go to lunch with them or, just chat and talk about life and stuff. He's able to separate that to do what's right for himself, his career, and his family, and fight the guy and give it his all and knock him down, and I thought he was the rightful winner. So I respect him. You look at Golovkin didn't want to ruin his chances at a Canelo sweepstake. Canelo failed a drug test in February 17th and February 20th with clenbuterol, had to withdraw from the initial Cinco de Mayo Canelo versus Golovkin rematch fight, right? And Golovkin out of nowhere says, I still want to fight on that day. I got a training camp. I want to get that out of my system. I didn't want to just train for nothing. And the IBF said, okay, if you're going to keep that date, we were going to move out of the way because of the Canelo Triple G, the event, how big it was, the controversy from the first fight. So we would, make an exception for you not to fight your mandatory if you were fighting Canelo. But seeing how that's not happening and he was forced to withdraw with this failed drug test, you got to fight your mandatory Sergey Derevyanchenko. And then Gennady Golovkin, he says, hey, it's not my fault. Hey, no, guys, and he says, they said, okay, we'll let you have a voluntary defense because you didn't create the situation with Canelo and clenbuterol and the Mexican steak and all this shit. So after this, you got to fight your mandatory next. You got 90 days after this fight, should you retain your titles, to negotiate with him. Triple G's team had no intentions of fighting Derevyanchenko. They were like, yeah. And it was proven because after they knocked out Vanes Martirosyan, who they shouldn't have really even fought, that was just a waste of time. Fighting a guy who was on a 2-year plus layoff or so, coming from 154-pound divisions, moving up to 160, switched promoters. He was with Al Heyman advisors, and then he was now with Don King, coming off of Erislandy Lara loss, moving up. Everything was stacked against him, got late notice, 2-3 weeks notice. So you knock him out in 2 rounds, and you don't even negotiate with Derevyanchenko's team. So Jacobs is 100% right, 1,000% right. Triple G got stripped of his IBF title because he refused to fight Derevyanchenko because he knew Canelo was serving his suspension and he got time served, and Canelo was going to be free to fight by mid-August or so, meaning he would be able to fight in September. And he didn't want to spoil his chances, end up losing, or looking bad to the point where, he couldn't get the Canelo sweepstakes. So he elected to let the IBF strip him. Meanwhile, Jacobs took the Golovkin loss. I thought he beat Golovkin, and he's had to earn it the hard way, fighting undefeated fighter after undefeated fighter until he got to a fight. They stripped Golovkin. He was the number 2 guy, and Derevyanchenko was the mandatory, and then he fought him. He fought his friend, former gym partners, a guy who knew him, and beat him, and now he's a champion. So he's right. Unification should happen. There's nobody, including Golovkin, in my opinion, that deserves Canelo. Like I said, Canelo-Golovkin trilogy, that can happen whenever. Golovkin is not a champion anymore, you know. And as far as the people are going to make it like it's a huge fight, you know, it's decent. But at the same time, the second fight didn't even do as good as the first fight. So, you know me, I don't believe rematches always need to happen straight away unless it's like, you know, Wilder, Fury, Ward, Kovalev, and there's like some immense controversy as to who won. I thought Canelo definitely beat Golovkin, and, you know, needless to say, Golovkin's no longer a champion, and Jacobs is. Other thing, I see fans, they leave senseless comments to me. They say stuff like, oh, Canelo fought Mayweather and he fought Golovkin, why wouldn't he fight Jacobs? You know, that doesn't even make sense. Fighting Golovkin don't fight it like Jacobs. You know, they're like, oh, why, if he fought Golovkin, why would you be afraid of Charlo, and why would he be afraid of Jacobs? Charlo and Jacobs don't fight like Golovkin. You know, they're black fighters. They have, you know, very rhythmic. Charlo has a good jab. Jacobs has amateur pedigree. You know, this is totally different. I think Golovkin's slow. Charlo and Jacobs are both, you know, pretty quick, rhythmic, athletic, you know, so it's just different fights, you know. And Oscar De La Hoya is already on tape saying that he didn't want Canelo to fight Erislandy Lara. So I hope Canelo, if he gets past Rocky Fielding, he's interested in a unification with either Demetrius Andrade or Daniel Jacobs. And I think, you know, I love Boo Boo Andrade, but, you know, I think Jacobs deserves it more because he has more fights at the middleweight division, and they were all against undefeated fighters, stuff like that. And they're both unifications. Unfortunately, Andrade's situation, the guy he was supposed to go through, Billy Joe Saunders, failed a drug test, so he didn't get to go through them. So, you know, in my opinion, you got Jacobs calling you out, and you got Jacobs a champion. It's a unification. You said you're going back to the division. DAZN's paying you all this money. You got to produce big events. I really don't want to see Canelo Golovkin 3 in May, personally. You know, so I think Jacobs is the rightful suitor. You know, he's the opponent. He's gonna be ringside at your fight. He's calling you out. He's been calling you out. It's a good stylistic match. Something new, something fresh. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. I like what Jacobs is doing. See, and unlike Anthony Joshua, you see what happens. You see what people are doing when you want to fight a guy. You scout them. You go to their fights. Joshua says he wanted to fight Tyson Fury. And Eddie Hearn says he wanted to fight Tyson Fury. Joshua says he wanted to fight Deontay Wilder. But then he also made a point to say that he's not going to Wilder-Fury fight. You know, and he wasn't even watching it in real time. He's going to watch it on social media the day after. You know, Jacobs, although he's from New York, he doesn't have to show up. But he is willing to show up because that's what he wants. He wants his presence to be felt. And that's what most fighters do. So just a little quick add-on regarding the Joshua not going to Wilder-Fury fight. Jacobs knows what he wants. You know, it hasn't been announced if he's staying with Eddie Hearn and DAZN, but, you know, maybe it depends on if he can get the Canelo fight. But if he can, that's a great fight. I support it, and it's a unification. And Jacobs is letting it be known what fight he wants, and he's showing up to Canelo's event, you know. So I give him props for that, going after what he wants. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego, signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.